We've got a Mailbag Monday episode of Locked On Blue Devils here for you today. Just how big of an impact will these Duke basketball transfers make on the team? It was a really big weekend for the Duke Diamond Sports. What's next for them? We answer those questions on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man, to Locked On Blue Devils with J.J. Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. It is so great to have you here with us on Monday, May 27th, 2024. It is Memorial Day here in the United States, but bringing you a brand new episode of Locked On Blue Devils here today. Excited to talk about everything going on in the life of Duke athletics as we do each and every day here on Locked On Blue Devils. I'm your host, JJ Jackson. You can follow us on X at LO_Blue Devils. I'm there as well at _JJ_Jackson_. Please be sure to leave us a 5-star rating and written review wherever it is that you listen to your podcasts available. Subscribe to get your podcasts each and every day on your preferred podcast platform. Also, watch the show on YouTube each and every day. Hit that subscribe button, like this video, share it with your friends, help get the word out there for Locked On Blue Devils. Today, we've got a Mailbag Monday episode of the program where we answer your questions about any and everything going on in the life of Duke athletics. We're going to talk about the Duke basketball team. We're also going to talk about Duke baseball and Duke softball. I want to say a big-time congratulations to the Duke baseball team who won the ACC baseball tournament in Charlotte over the weekend, and then also to Duke softball in just the program's 7th year ever. They win their super regionals for the first time and are heading to the Women's College World Series set to take place in Oklahoma City. So big time congrats to them. Got a couple of questions coming up about them. On today's show, helping us with the Mailbag Monday, I'll bring in our good friend Kevin Connelly, who's the site expert from Durham. As always, your questions can be sent in to lockedonbluedevils@gmail.com or on X at LO_Blue Devils. Kevin is here with us now. Kevin, thanks for the time as always. Really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me, JJ. Glad to be here.
All right, let's get right after it, man. We've got to talk about these new episode or these questions that were sent in for the podcast today via the mailbag feature. We've got questions that were asked recently about the transfer portal additions for the Duke basketball team. Simple question here to get us started. What kind of addition, what kind of expectations should we get from these new guys in the transfer portal with John Shire's team?
I think it's interesting because you probably want to take it on a case-by-case basis. Sion James, I'm really high on him. I think he's going to make an impact. I think he's going to play a lot of minutes. Same thing goes for Malik Brown. I think he's, as we've talked about before, he's a really good physical center. You look at, he shot, close to 71% on 2-point field goals, and he's only at 6'8", and he did that in the ACC. So I think that was really impressive to me when that stood out. Like I said, Sion James, I think he's going to play a lot. You look at Mason Gillis from Purdue, 3-and-D type guy. If he can hit 38% of his 3-point shots, probably you'd even take 36% anywhere but in that range as well, and play quality defense, veteran leadership. I think that'd be a positive. And I think what we have touched on it for Cameron Sheffield. I just don't see a lot of playing time for him this year. So if that's what you're looking for expectation-wise, I think that's what we're more leaning towards this upcoming season right now for those 4 transfers.
It's really hard to have these major expectations for transfers when you know that there's going to be a player wearing that number 2 jersey for Duke basketball, that being Cooper Flagg, right? And then you've got the returners and Tyrese Proctor and Caleb Foster and other talented freshmen as well. Like the other pieces, Kevin, play kind of that big role in determining expectations you might have for the transfers coming in.
Yeah, exactly. Like Duke wasn't looking for the home run hit in the transfer portal this year. They weren't looking for one of those players that you see are ranked in the top 10 of the individual transfer portal rankings. That wasn't what they were going after. Now you put all these pieces together, and Duke still has, I think they're right now still a top 20 transfer class. So still highly thought of at all these pieces coming together. But you're right. We've talked about it. There's one basketball. Cooper Flag is going to demand a lot of shots, as is Caleb Foster, Tyrese Proctor. So don't expect to see Duke has like during the season, that transfer edition is going to be looked at as one of the best ones of the offseason. No, they were looking for basically quality over quantity in terms of where the players were ranked. So, yeah, I think you make a good point on that.
Yeah, really good additions made to the Duke basketball team. Again, you've got Malik Brown from Syracuse, Mason Gillis from Purdue, Sion James from Tulane, and then Cam Sheffield coming over from Rice. So 4 guys added into the fold. I think we've got reasonable expectations for them. They'll have a role. They will feel that role. I think they're going to make a big-time impact, Sheffield in particular, in like practice settings for the Duke basketball team. And then other guys will have defined roles out there on the court, and we'll be able to talk more about those expectations in the days and weeks to come here on Locked On Blue Devils itself. All right, next mailbag question for us to tackle here today, Kevin, is this. What do you think of the tough Duke basketball non-conference opponents already announced? More and more opponents coming out. Duke's now made it official with that Kansas game. We know when it will take place and that sort of thing. So how would you answer this one? What do you think of the tough non-conference opponents?
I think it's brutal right now, and we're still waiting for one. We know it's going to be out of the SEC, but we don't know which school just yet. But, yeah, this is Jon Scheyer. When you're putting together your schedule, yes, you want to schedule high games, high-quality games, I should say, because prepares your team. But you also don't want to put yourself behind the 8 ball. So like you're thinking you're going to have a pretty good team if you schedule like this. And that's what Duke's put together. I mean, right out of the gates, you're going to get Kentucky, Arizona, Kansas, all in the first month of the season, which is crazy. And then you look a little bit deeper down the line, probably in December-ish, you'll get that ACC, SEC opponent. And then you're just about thinking you're going to get into the rigors of ACC play, and you're going to have a game against North Carolina in Cameron. Oh, by the way, probably a week before that, you're going to Madison Square Garden to play Illinois. So, yeah, this is a brutal non-conference schedule. But, again, Jon Scheyer thinks he's going to have a really good team. There are going to be a lot of eyeballs on this team with Cooper Flag, the presumptive number 1 pick in next year's draft. And he's going to be on primetime television, full display for the country to see.
We've got a few more basketball questions coming up here in just a bit, but now we've also got to make sure we recognize the Diamond Sports. What a fun weekend it was for Duke athletics as a whole. Some questions that we must answer after we take this first time out here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils is brought to you by our friends over at eBay Motors. That's right. Passion, drive, and patience. It's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything that you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number 1 ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you're getting your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive today at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. eBay Motors, a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. We keep rolling here on this episode of Locked On Blue Devils. I'm JJ Jackson, joined today by Kevin Connelly, the site expert for Brawl Durham. Kevin, you and I talk a whole lot about basketball. We'll dabble in football from time to time, but it's the Diamond Sports making noise, and boy, are we getting mailbag questions about them after a really fun weekend. Before we get into these questions specifically, how about the baseball team and the softball team putting together some fun weekends?
Well, it's really awesome, right? Because this time of year, summer's here, and it feels like all college sports fans are waiting for something, because obviously the basketball season wraps up about 6 weeks ago. It's still a little bit a ways away from football, and it feels like everybody just latches on to college baseball, college softball. Same thing with men's lacrosse. Now, Duke men's lacrosse didn't have the year that a lot of people were expecting for them to get back to the Final Four. But man, baseball, softball teams were awesome. Softball team going to game 3 of their series on the road against Missouri, and extra innings, able to pull it out. And then the baseball team winning the ACC tournament in dominant fashion, if you really want to say it like that. They had one bad inning in the first game against Virginia Tech, and then it was really, they just blew everybody out after that. And now they'll be headed to the NCAA tournament, looking to make some noise. They're looking to get back to the College World Series. Chris Pollard, they've won regionals. They've gotten to super regionals, and they just fallen short in the last game of supers, trying to get back to the College World Series. So I think this might be the team that gets that job done.
Well, that journey starts this weekend. So we'll go to a baseball question here. How do you like Duke's baseball's chances of getting out of the Norman Regional? And additionally, what about Duke not hosting their own regional? That's a big topic of conversation. 16 teams get to host. 64 teams make the tournament. 8 of those 16, the top 8, ultimately host those super regionals. Duke hosted a regional in softball. They were on the road for super regionals. Duke baseball won't host anything. They will be a 2 seed in the Norman Regional. Oklahoma will host. So how do you like their chances of getting out of that regional? And then, Kevin, just ultimately, Duke's not one of the top 16. How did we get here, man?
Yeah, that was really a surprise. So those top seeds were announced on Sunday. So Duke knew going into the selection show they weren't going to be able to host. And I think when you read and listen to a lot of people that talked about it, that was one of the biggest surprises, that Duke was not going to be a host for the NCAA tournament. And I think it just shows you that people think this is a top 16 seeded team. They think this should be a team that should host a regional as a top 8 seed. So I think Oklahoma's probably not feeling very good that they have Duke in their bracket. Now they'll play a first game on Friday, I believe 1:00 against UConn out of the Big East. Funny enough, Duke and Connecticut, not in the same conference, but people would consider them rivals from all their battles on the basketball court. Yeah. So I really do
games with them recently too, you know?
Yeah. And obviously the big recruiting battle with Duke and UConn and Cooper Flag in the middle of it, that goes on Duke's winning tab as well. So I do think I would predict Duke to get out of this regional, head back to the super regionals. They're just really talented. They have a really good pitching staff. They can hit 1 through 9, as everyone saw in the ACC tournament championship game. So yeah, and you could tell how good a team could project to the NCAA tournament with what they do in their conference tournament, because you need pitching and you need pitching depth. And Duke's bullpen is one of the best in the country as well. So I really do think this team is going to get back to super regionals, and hopefully they're able to win that series and get to the College World Series.
Yeah, it's the 8-9 setup, right, for where Duke is at. Again, 1 to 16 is your regional hosts, and then 1 would play 16 in the supers, 2 would play 15, so on and so forth. So in a world in which Duke wins, should that other seed in the 8-9 matchup, the national seed, be upset, there's an opportunity possibly for Duke to host a super regional. Of course, Kevin, with all of this, you got to take care of business in front of you first. What a performance, though, from that Duke baseball team. Absolutely mashing home runs over the weekend. Alex Stone continues to show why he's one of the best catchers in all of baseball. And again, Coach Pollard gets a lot of praise, and rightfully so, for what he's done with the program.
Yeah, you're right. So you just got to focus on what's the task ahead of you. You can't really be thinking about, oh, we could host a super regional if things break our way. But you said it, the job Chris Pollard has done with this baseball program over the last 5 to 7 years has been incredible. And he's turned Duke into a destination where they are competing with some of the top programs in the country, like your powerhouses down in the SEC, for that national relevance. And they're just looking to take that next step as a program, like unbelievably the softball team has already done in just 7 years as a program.
So talking about the Duke baseball team, Mailbag Monday episode, a question about our chances of getting out of that Norman regional for the Duke Blue Devils and not getting to host a regional. Got softball coming up here as well, but do want to give a shout out to folks sending us love in the Locked On Blue Devils world. And I'd say our number one listener is my dad, and my dad passing along a couple of notes that Duke Athletics put out there as well. Duke softball and baseball win the ACC championship in the same year for the second time in school history. Really fun. Again, remember, Duke softball also won the ACC tournament. Naming rights always keep it with basketball. So you've got the ACC championship name that's thrown around a lot with the softball and baseball. It's the tournament at the end of the day that those two teams won. So both of them able to win it in the same year, which is amazing. And then Ben Stevens put a note out there on X as well that my dad shared with us. 12 schools made an FBS bowl game, a men's basketball and baseball NCAA tournaments. Men's sports dominating football, basketball, baseball, Alabama, Arizona, Clemson, Duke, James Madison, Kentucky, North Carolina, NC State, Oregon, Tennessee, Texas, and Texas A&M. Only 12 get an opportunity to celebrate that, and Duke is one of them, Kevin.
Yeah, and it just shows that Duke athletics is well-rounded. It's not just a basketball school. They have a lot of other sports that are really, really good, and I think more people online are taking notice of that it's not just, hey, we're only Duke basketball fans. They're now becoming Duke baseball fans, Duke softball fans, Duke lacrosse fans, Duke football fans as well. So it's really been cool to see over the last couple of years the transition from it's like Duke is a men's basketball school only, and now all the other athletic programs at Duke are getting recognized as well, and they're performing on the national stage.
All right, let's go to our next question here in the mailbag. Next question comes in. How big is it that Duke softball made it to the Women's College World Series in just the 7th year of the program's existence?
No, it's huge. I mean, when you think about how difficult it is to win, you see schools, now granted they're funded differently, but you have schools that transition from Division II to Division I and so on and so forth and are starting programs. I mean, sometimes it takes them 15, 20 years just to try and get on the same level as other schools in their own conference, never mind nationally. And Duke has really hit the ground running. I think it was less than 2,400 days from the program's first ever game to now getting to the Women's College World Series. And talk about a sport that always booms at this time of year. It is the Women's College World Series, and it's only going to be bigger for this Duke softball team getting there in 7 years as a program, getting all of this national attention, and hopefully for them they can win some games and try and win a national championship. Obviously, it won't be easy, but it was another thing that Duke didn't get to host a super regional despite how dominant they were all regular season. And hey, Coach K, he kind of predicted it. He gave a pep talk to the softball team before they left for Missouri. He said, we're going to go there, and in game number 1, we're going to score in the first inning, and we're going to win that game. Now, he was a little bit off. They didn't score until the second inning in that game, but they still won game 1, dropped game 2, and then, as we were talking about, the extra innings victory in game 3 to punch that ticket to the Women's College World Series. So, yeah, just a really awesome story of how this all has come together and the success that has come so quickly for the Blue Devils.
Pretty awesome stuff from the GOAT. Anytime he's asked to kind of motivate you, Mike Krzyzewski certainly able to do that. I saw this note as well on social media following Duke's trip to the Women's College World Series from Rain Wilson, who is a analyst for the ACC Network, also played softball for the Duke Blue Devils in her days just a few seasons ago, now doing a great job in the booth. Since day one at Duke softball, there was a sign above the door to the field that said, quote, "Today for June." No team had touched on the field, had ever stepped foot on the field together in June until now. Belief, tenacity, and fearlessness since day one. Congratulations to Duke coach Marissa Young and Team 7. Big time stuff. So I didn't really realize that, but Rain Wilson taking us inside the facilities. There's a sign that says "Today for June." Put forth the effort today to be playing in June. And the program's never done that before until now. They're going to get an opportunity to play in June.
Yeah, it's awesome. And you set those goals at the beginning of the season, right? No matter the sport. And you set those goals and you want to put in the work to achieve those goals. And this team did it. And now they're ready to head to Oklahoma. I think they might be there already. And they're going to try and make some noise.
And then, Kevin, to your point, okay, the series plays out. Duke takes game 1 of the Super Regionals. You just got to win one more. And then for folks that might be following softball or baseball in the postseason for the first time, Missouri hosted the thing, but in Super Regionals, game 2, the home team switches. Mm-hmm. So Duke got to be the home team. And they're the home team with an opportunity to win and go to the College World Series, and the game just does not go their way. Credit to Missouri for taking that one. And then we go into game 3, and now Missouri's the home team again. You go into extra innings, and any runs that are scored for Missouri, all of a sudden your season's over and you're stopped short of the Super Regionals once again. Duke hosted Super Regionals last year and couldn't get the job done as Stanford defeated them to go to the Women's College World Series. But despite that, Duke was able to finally get it done. They couldn't win that game 2 when they were the home team there in Columbia, but they did it in game 3 yesterday.
Yeah, and it's just awesome. And like you said, the pressure that then gets put on you, especially going into those bottom halves of the inning when you know one run beats you. It feels like you're at such a disadvantage. But hey, takes one swing of the bat, puts you in front. You get those final 3 outs, and it sends you to Oklahoma with your ticket punch to the College World Series.
Monumental stuff from Duke softball. All right, one more break. We got some basketball questions for you coming up about the NBA, and Duke Blue Devils will answer those after this timeout here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Kevin Connelly from Ball Durham is here hanging out with us. We definitely got to make sure we take this opportunity to tell you about Locked On launching the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every single league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Again, Locked On Sports Today. It's a podcast. It's also a streaming channel over on YouTube. Go check it all out. All right, let's bring him back in. Kevin Connelly, the site expert from Ball Durham, back with us here once again. Follow him on X at Kevin Connelly24. And Kevin, if you will, tell us about Ball Durham, my friend.
Well, we got everything over at Ball Durham, Duke Athletics. Obviously, we're all on top of everything going on in the world of Duke basketball. But as we've talked throughout the day, a lot of spring sports, big things happening. We'll be on top of that as well. Duke in the NCAA tournament for baseball, women's softball College World Series. So we got it all over for you over at balldurham.com. And then you can follow us on social media at ball_Durham.
All right, here on Monday, May 27th, it's a Mailbag Monday episode of the program today. Our next question comes in. If it ends up being a Boston Celtics versus Dallas Mavericks NBA Finals, which former Duke player is most likely to win the title? Fun question there. Again, as it stands right now, the Celtics with a 3-0 lead over the Indiana Pacers. They'll play a little bit later tonight with an opportunity to go to the NBA Finals. And as it stands right now, the Dallas Mavericks have a 3-0 lead over the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals. And Kevin, let's remind people, Dallas has Kyrie Irving and Derek Lively II. Boston Celtics, of course, have Jason Tatum. And let's not forget Emile Jefferson, an assistant coach for Duke just last season, played for the Blue Devils, of course. He's now in his first season as an assistant coach on Joe Mazzulla's staff there with Boston. Which former Duke player is most likely to win the title as it stands right now, would you say?
It's a really good question. I think I'm going to lean with Jason Tatum in Boston.
I think I'm with you.
And it's really close because the way Dallas has been playing basketball over these last 3 games against Minnesota has been really impressive. And Kyrie Irving has been at the forefront of that. And unfortunately, Derek Lively has been a big part of it as well. And he sustains a really scary injury the other night where he was going up for a rebound and was falling down and got his neck and back of his head on a knee of another player. And he was down for a while. And he really didn't look like he knew where he was as he was coming off the floor. He was been ruled out for tomorrow night's game already. They haven't said, at least I haven't read anywhere, that it's a concussion. They keep saying it's a neck injury. So I don't know if that's good or bad or what. Maybe you'd rather have a concussion than sustain an injury to your neck, which can be very painful. So hopefully he gets better. But yeah, I think just with Boston and their depth, especially if they are able to get Kristaps Porzingis back for the NBA Finals, I think that's just another added weapon for Jason Tatum. And I think Boston right now, in the eyes of a lot of people, are the favorites to win the NBA championship.
Yeah, I'm going Boston with you as well. I'm going Tatum and Emile Jefferson there on the bench. But, man, the basketball that Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving together are playing for Dallas. Pretty impressive stuff. If it is those two teams going for it, I think we'll be in a pretty good spot. Worth noting, no teams ever come back from a 3-0 lead. So the teams that are on the outside looking in would need to make history. We'd need that to happen twice for there to not be a matchup that is not Celtics and Mavericks. So feels pretty likely we're heading in that direction.
Yeah, well, I just hope at least one of these teams is able to get a game or two, because we could have I think it's almost 10 days of basketball, 8 days of no basketball from the break between the conference finals to the NBA finals, which I think starts the next weekend. So it'll be a long time without basketball if both these series get wrapped up here in the next couple of days. So hopefully the teams that are down by 3 games are able to get a game or two and give us some more basketball to watch before the NBA finals start, so we don't have a big break.
Yep. All right. Last question of the day. What are a few NBA teams that would be a good fit for Jared McCain and Kyle Filipowski to be drafted by here in 2024? Take this however you will, Kevin. I'm thinking, honestly, not really looking at the draft order, so to speak, right now, but just kind of teams you might picture these players on. What do you think?
I feel like one team always is great and they have great player development because of their head coach and Eric Spoelstra is the Miami Heat. I think that'd be really cool, especially for a landing spot like a Jared McCain, even Kyle Filipowski, if he would play behind a Bam Adebayo. I think that would be a really good spot. I think, and that's not going to happen because I don't think they even have a first-round pick. I think the most ideal landing spot possible for Jared McCain would be like the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
I mean, you could play with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. Maybe you eventually take the spot of Klay Thompson as the team's shooting guard, who's getting older and had some struggles last season. And obviously with Jared McCain's 3-point shooting to try and learn from the greatest shooter of all time, I think that would be his most ideal landing spot, but that's not going to happen. You look at a couple of mock drafts, you see Jared McCain floated around to like the Toronto Raptors. Do they take him and get paired up with another Blue Devil and RJ Barrett? Philadelphia
Gary
76ers.
Trent Jr.
Yeah, Gary Trent Jr. as well. Philadelphia 76ers, you hear around the same names of McCain and Filipowski. I think a lot of teams will hop on Jared McCain just because of his shooting. I think Filipowski is looking for a better fit where he can try and play right away.
I saw a couple of mock drafts out there floating the idea of Kyle Filipowski and the Phoenix Suns and talking about fit. I kind of like that, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you'd be paired with Grayson Allen, another former Blue Devil. The internet would love that as well when you've got sort of two Duke villain types with tripping incidents throughout their college careers. But then you think about the roster makeup right now of the Phoenix Suns. Something about Kyle Filipowski out there, there in the desert for the Suns. I like that fit, a good bit for him, man.
Yeah, and you're looking at a team that right now has a lot of money tied up in 3 players and Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. So maybe they are looking to get somebody mid-first round on a cheaper deal that can help contribute right away. I think that's a really good fit for him as well.
All right, that's a Mailbag Monday episode. Of course, any answers that you might have as the viewer or listener, let us know in the comments down below to these questions or future questions that you want us to ask. Kevin, as always, thanks for your help going through these questions, and thanks for being such a frequent guest here on Locked On Blue Devils.
Appreciate it, JJ.
All right, that's Kevin Connelly joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Once again, really do appreciate his time and effort being a part of the program with us every single week. Really do appreciate Kevin and the work that he does. Once again, please make sure you check us out on YouTube, wherever it is that you get your podcasts, and on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it with your friends, and so much more. Thanks for watching us here on Memorial Day, and thanks to all of those who have served our country for the freedoms that we have. We take this day to remember those who have lost their lives in the line of service. Once again, follow us on X at LO_Blue Devils. Follow me as well at _JJ_Jackson_. That'll do it for today's show. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.